Clashes have broken out between Palestinians and Israeli security forces in Bethlehem in the West Bank. This time, the trouble broke out as Palestinians marked Prisoners' Day. Up to 2,000 Palestinian prisoners earlier began a hunger strike over conditions in Israeli prisons. The protest, this time led by Marwan Barghouti. He's a jailed prominent figure in the Palestinian leaders' Fatah movement. They're also calling for Israel to end its policy of detention without trial, too. There are currently 6,500 Palestinian prisoners being held in Israeli prisons, 300 of whom are juveniles. 458 are serving life sentences. Let's get some comment on where this is going to go, if it'll develop further or calm down. Mohammed Shafiq is from the Ramadan Foundation, joining us now live. Hi. What are the chances, then, of the Israeli authorities yielding to the protesters' demands here, do you think?
Well, it's difficult because the Israeli occupation and the government have for decades allowed Palestinians, innocent Palestinians, to be put in prison, have their rights infringed, and look at making life difficult for the Palestinians. They don't get standards, if you like, international human rights standards available in those prisons. There are many children, underage children, who are also held in these prisons. And so, hopefully, when you get 2,000 prisoners on hunger strike, it will send a very clear message that people are using whatever method possible in a peaceful way to stand up against the occupation by the Israeli government.
I mentioned just now this protest is being led by the prominent Palestinian figure Marwan Barghouti. Is that going to make much of a difference here, his influence?
Yeah, he's very influential. He's somebody who obviously serving life sentences for alleged terrorism-related offences. But actually, amongst the ordinary Palestinians, I've been even in places like Gaza, to where I've been, there is a lot of support for him as an individual, and the fact that he's leading this hunger strike will give it a lot more coverage, not just across the Middle East, but around the world. The way to resolve this ongoing conflict between Israelis and Palestinians is for the Israeli government to stand up and believe in an independent Palestinian state, and to take the necessary steps to do that. And until that happens, you won't see peace, not just in the Palestinian territories in Israel, but across the Middle East, as we've seen so brutally in Syria.
Back to the hunger strikers here. The Israeli authorities are known to have used force feeding to deal with hunger strikers in the past. Are they likely to do it this time?
Yeah, that's always been a case, but I think there's also a lot of international pressure through the United Nations, excuse me, through a lot of international bodies as well, that will use this opportunity to highlight the fact that the Palestinians are not just oppressed when it comes to occupation, but are also oppressed when it comes to being held in prison, to be kept from their schools and their lands. The fact that there is a creeping illegal settlement movement which is supported by Jared Kushner and others within the US administration. So these are all issues that have to be addressed, and the only way you can do that is through negotiation and through the Israelis recognizing that the only way they can defend their own state is by making sure that there is a Palestinian state.
And what are the chances of any progress as we stand at the moment in Israeli-Palestinian relations?
It's looking very remote. Obviously, you've seen successive US governments have been very biased when it comes to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. But you've got Russia, for example, Vladimir Putin, the president, is taking a keen interest in this. There are other aspects of Arab states through the Arab League are also involved. So I think, away from the US-biased foreign policy towards an independent policy directed by the Russians, the Arab League and the United Nations can actually put pressure on the Israelis to say, if you want to protect your state and you want to protect your future as a democratic state, then you've got to allow the Palestinians to have their state. That's their democratic right, and it's a human right that has been stopped from them having that for decades.
Mohammed, we're going to leave it there. Mohammed Shafiq from the Ramadan Foundation. Thanks for your time today.